Every country has its traffic jams, but Britain has a very special way of making them worse, and it often comes down to a single, unavoidable pinch point, a bridge. Because when you live on a group of islands, cut through with rivers, firths and estuaries, sooner or later everyone has to get across the water. And when a whole region's traffic is funneled toward one crossing, one river, one bridge, you get the specific, soul-destroying, engine-off, radio-on misery that British drivers know all too well. The tailback that stretches for miles. The crawl that takes an hour to cover 2. The bridge you can actually see up ahead that you will not reach for another 40 minutes. Some of these are ancient bridges never built for modern traffic. Some are motorway crossings that carry twice what they were designed for. And some grind to a halt for the most infuriating reason of all, because they have to stop and open to let a boat through. Today we're counting down the 10 bridges that cause Britain's worst traffic. The bottlenecks, the chokepoints, the crossings that turn a simple journey into a test of patience. We'll count down to the single most congested, most notorious, most complained about bridge in the entire country. Hit subscribe if you want more like this. We do this every week. Let's start with a bridge that grinds to a halt, not because of too many cars, but because it keeps having to get out of the way of boats. Number 10. The swing bridges of the Norfolk Broads. We start not with one bridge, but with a particularly infuriating category of them. The swing bridges that cross Britain's busy waterways, and few areas know the pain of them better than the Norfolk Broads. Places like Reedham and Somerleyton have swing bridges that carry the road and the railway across the river, and when a boat needs to pass, the whole bridge swings open and the traffic simply has to wait. Here's what makes them so maddening. Unlike an ordinary traffic jam, there's nothing you can do and nowhere you can go. When the bridge is swung open for river traffic, the road is severed completely. You sit at the barrier, watching a pleasure cruiser drift lazily through the gap at a few miles an hour, knowing that the bridge cannot close and the traffic cannot move until the boat is well clear, and the whole mechanism has swung slowly back into place and locked. In the summer season, when the Broads are heaving with holiday boats, these openings can come thick and fast, and the queues on a hot afternoon can build alarmingly. A crossing that takes seconds when the bridge is closed can cost you a long, fuming wait when the timing goes against you. Now, imagine arriving at the barrier just as it comes down, watching the bridge begin to swing, and realizing a slow procession of boats is lined up to pass. The engine goes off, the queue builds behind you, and you settle in to watch other people enjoy their holiday on the water, while your own journey sits completely, helplessly stationary. It's a uniquely British form of gridlock, where the traffic stops not for an accident or sheer volume, but so that someone's narrowboat can potter through. And if a bridge that stops for boats tests your patience, the next one is a genuine city centre choke point that thousands dread every single morning. Number 9. The Itchen Bridge, Southampton. Down on the south coast, in Southampton, the Itchen Bridge is a high-tolled crossing over the River Itchen that links the eastern and central parts of the city. It's a useful crossing, cutting out a long detour around the river, which is exactly why it gets so busy and why the queues to reach it can build so quickly at peak times. The Itchen Bridge is a toll bridge, and that's part of the bottleneck. Even with modern payment, a crossing where traffic has to slow and funnel toward a charging point is a crossing where traffic backs up, especially during the morning and evening rush when the whole city seems to be trying to get across the river at once. Add in the fact that it's one of only a limited number of ways over the Itchen, and you have a classic pinch point. For the people of Southampton, it's simply part of the daily grind. One of those crossings where you learn the rhythms, know exactly when to avoid it, and groan when circumstances force you onto it at the wrong time of day. Now imagine joining the approach on a wet Monday morning, the queue already stretching back from the bridge, everyone edging forward a car length at a time toward the crossing. The river is somewhere ahead, the far side of the city just visible beyond it, and between you and it, a long, slow, stop-start crawl over a bridge you'll be paying for the privilege of using. It's a reminder that a bridge doesn't need to be huge or famous to ruin your commute. It just needs to be the only sensible way across at the exact moment everyone else needs it too. And if a tolled city crossing slows you down, the next one is one of the most notorious traffic black spots in the whole of Scotland. Number 8. The Kingston Bridge, Glasgow. In the heart of Glasgow, the Kingston Bridge carries the M8 motorway across the River Clyde, right through the middle of the city, and it is one of the busiest and most congested river crossings anywhere in Britain. This isn't a quiet country bridge, this is a massive urban motorway crossing that funnels a staggering volume of traffic across the Clyde every single day. The Kingston Bridge appears again and again on lists of Britain's worst traffic bottlenecks, and it's easy to see why. The M8 is one of the busiest motorways in Scotland. It runs straight through the centre of Glasgow rather than around it, and the Kingston Bridge is the point where all of that traffic is squeezed across the river. When it flows, it's the beating heart of the city's road network. When it doesn't, the congestion ripples out across the whole of Glasgow. Approaching in rush hour, with lanes weaving and merging as slip roads feed in from every direction, the bridge becomes a slow, grinding crawl, hemmed in by the city on all sides. There's no scenic estuary here, no dramatic drop. Just a wall of traffic, a river underneath, and a motorway trying to carry far more than it was ever comfortable with. Now imagine sitting in the middle lane at 8:30 in the morning, the Glasgow skyline all around you, brake lights stretching ahead as far as you can see, the Clyde sliding past somewhere below. The traffic inches forward, slip roads keep feeding more cars into the crush, and you crawl across the river a few meters at a time. It's proof that some of the worst bridge traffic in Britain isn't out on the coast at all, it's right in the middle of our biggest cities, and if a city centre motorway bridge grinds you down, the next one combines heavy traffic with an ancient structure never meant to carry it. Number 7. The Maidenhead and Thamestown Bridges. Along the length of the River Thames, west of London, lies a whole string of historic town bridges that were built for a gentler age and are now expected to carry the full weight of modern commuter traffic. Crossings in towns like Maidenhead, Henley, Marlow and Windsor become notorious pinch points because the river can only be crossed in so many places, and each of those crossings funnels an entire town's worth of vehicles over an old, often narrow bridge. The problem is baked into the geography. The Thames is a serious barrier, and the bridges across it in these historic towns are frequently centuries old, listed, and impossible to widen. So, as the towns have grown and the traffic has multiplied, the bridges have stayed exactly the same size, and the result is a permanent bottleneck right in the centre of town. Market days, school runs, and rush hours turn these elegant old crossings into long, slow queues. For residents, the town bridge is both a beloved landmark and a daily source of frustration. The thing that defines the town, and also the thing that clogs it solid every weekday morning. Now imagine crawling toward one of these historic bridges on a busy morning, the queue stretching back through the town, the old stone arches ahead, carrying a single slow lane of traffic in each direction. Pedestrians cross faster than you're moving. The river drifts by, serene and untroubled, while the town's entire traffic grinds through a gap built long before the car existed. It's the classic British collision between history and modernity. A beautiful old bridge doing a job it was never designed for, and a whole town paying for it in lost time. And if ancient town bridges frustrate you, the next one is a huge estuary crossing where the wind itself can bring everything to a halt. Number 6. The Severn Crossings, England/Wales. The two great bridges over the Severn estuary, the older M48 Severn Bridge and the newer M4 Prince of Wales Bridge, carry the enormous volume of traffic between England and South Wales. Between them, they are the main road gateway into Wales, and when something goes wrong on them, the disruption is felt across two nations. The Severn crossings suffer from a particular double problem. First, there's sheer volume, as almost all road traffic between southern England and South Wales has to funnel across these two bridges, so any incident causes immediate and widespread congestion with very few alternatives. Second, there's the weather. The Severn estuary is fiercely exposed, and the bridges are subject to speed restrictions and closures in high winds, especially the older bridge. When the wind forces a closure, all that traffic has to be squeezed onto the remaining crossing or held up entirely. The removal of the tolls a few years ago made the crossings busier still, boosting traffic between the two sides and adding to the pressure on the bridges at peak times. What was once slowed by toll booths is now slowed simply by the weight of numbers. Now imagine heading for Wales on a blustery Friday afternoon, the estuary opening out ahead, and the overhead signs flashing a warning that the M48 bridge is closed to high-sided vehicles in the wind. Everything is being funneled onto the newer bridge. The traffic thickens, slows, and begins to crawl. Two nations' worth of Friday getaway compressed toward a single windswept crossing. It's a bottleneck on a grand scale, where geography and weather conspire to turn the gateway to Wales into a very long wait. And if a windswept estuary crossing can grind to a halt, the next one is a northern river crossing infamous for its tunnel and bridge congestion. Number 5. The Tyne Crossings, Newcastle around Newcastle and the River Tyne, The crossings that carry traffic between the north and south banks are some of the most congested in the north of England. The Tyne tunnel approaches in particular appear on national lists of Britain's worst bottlenecks, and the various bridges through Newcastle and Gateshead each take their share of the strain as the whole region tries to get across the river. The Tyne is a classic bottleneck river. It cuts right through a densely populated area, and there are only so many crossings, so traffic concentrates heavily on each one. The result, especially at the tunnel and on the approaches to the main road bridges, is regular, heavy congestion at peak times, with queues that back up onto the surrounding road network and ripple outward across both Newcastle and Gateshead. For commuters on Tyneside, choosing a crossing is a daily strategic decision, weighing up which bridge or tunnel is likely to be least clogged at any given hour, and knowing that a single incident on one crossing sends everyone piling onto the others. Now imagine approaching the river at rush hour, the great bridges of the Tyne ahead of you, the queue already forming as 3 lanes try to become the trickle that the crossing can actually handle. The traffic slows, compresses, and begins the familiar stop-start crawl toward the water, the far bank tantalizingly close and agonizingly slow to reach. It's a reminder that everywhere in Britain that a river runs through a city, the bridges across it become the places where the whole region's traffic comes to a head. And if the Tyne crossings test your patience, the next one is a bridge so busy it needs its own traffic management system just to cope. Number 4. The Runcorn Bridges, Mersey-where the river. Mersey separates Runcorn from Widnes in the northwest. The crossings have long been a serious bottleneck. For decades, the old Silver Jubilee Bridge carried an enormous volume of traffic across the Mersey, far more than it was ever designed for, becoming one of the most notorious congestion points in the region before a new crossing was finally built alongside it. The story here is one of a crossing simply overwhelmed. The Silver Jubilee Bridge became so congested, carrying so much traffic between the two towns and beyond, that journeys became painfully unreliable and the bridge itself came under strain. The newer Mersey Gateway Bridge was built specifically to relieve it, a modern tolled crossing designed to carry the volume the old bridge never could. But even with the new bridge, the Mersey remains a barrier that concentrates traffic, and the tolls and the sheer demand mean that getting across still requires planning. The crossings here have shaped the daily lives of everyone in the area, for better and, in the congested years, very much for worse. Now imagine the old days on the Silver Jubilee Bridge, the traffic packed nose to tail across the Mersey, the queues building on both banks, a crossing designed for a fraction of the vehicles now grinding across it. Or imagine today, weighing up whether to pay for the new bridge or take your chances, the river still dictating the rhythm of every journey between the two towns. It's a textbook example of a bridge that became a victim of its own importance, so vital that everyone used it, and so overused that it could barely cope. And if an overwhelmed Mersey crossing sounds grim, the top 3 are the giants, the crossings whose congestion is felt on a national scale. Number 3. The Forth Road Bridge and Queensferry Crossing, Edinburgh. The crossings over the Firth of Forth, just outside Edinburgh, carry the main flow of traffic between the Scottish capital and the whole of the north and east of Scotland. For decades, the Forth Road Bridge bore this entire load, and by the end of its life as the main crossing, it was carrying far more traffic than it was ever designed for, making it a serious and growing bottleneck. That congestion was one of the key reasons the enormous Queensferry crossing was built alongside it. The volume of traffic pouring across the Forth had simply outgrown the old bridge, and delays had become a regular feature of the journey in and out of Edinburgh from the north. The new crossing was designed to carry that traffic more reliably, and to be far less vulnerable to the high winds that could disrupt the old bridge. But the Forth remains a fundamental choke point in Scotland's road network. Almost everyone travelling between Edinburgh and the northeast has to cross here, so any problem on the crossing has outsized consequences, backing traffic up for miles and disrupting journeys across a huge swathe of the country. Now imagine heading north out of Edinburgh on a busy evening, the great towers of the Queensferry crossing rising ahead, the traffic thickening as the entire outflow of the city and beyond is funneled toward this single point over the Firth. When it flows, it's magnificent. When it doesn't, you're part of a tailback that stretches back toward the city, everyone waiting their turn to cross the water. It's one of the most important crossings in Scotland, and precisely because it's so important, it's one of the places where the nation's traffic most reliably comes to a halt. And if a national choke point in Scotland impresses you, the runner-up is one of the most consistently congested spots on the busiest motorway in Europe. Number 2. The Blackwall Tunnel approaches, London now. The Blackwall Tunnel isn't a bridge, But the crossing it represents, and the desperate need for a bridge alongside it, tells the whole story of why East London's river crossings are among the worst traffic black spots in Britain. The approaches to the Blackwall Tunnel under the Thames appear right at the top of national bottleneck rankings, second only to a handful of others, and the reason is brutally simple. There are almost no crossings of the Thames in East London. For a huge stretch of the river east of Tower Bridge, the options for getting across are tiny. The Blackwall Tunnel takes the strain, and it is overwhelmed, with queues on its approaches that are a permanent daily feature of London life. The tunnel is old, its lanes are tight, and it simply cannot handle the demand, so the traffic backs up relentlessly on both sides of the river. This is exactly why the crossings of the Thames east of the city have been such a battleground for decades, with new bridges proposed, fought over, and cancelled again and again. The lack of a bridge here is itself the cause of some of the worst congestion in the country. Now imagine crawling toward the Blackwall Tunnel at rush hour, the approach roads packed solid, the traffic barely moving, everyone funneling toward one of the very few ways under the river in this entire half of London. You inch forward. The tunnel mouth is somewhere ahead, and you settle in for one of the most reliably miserable waits in the capital. It's the ultimate proof that when you don't build enough bridges, the ones you do have, and the tunnels standing in for them, pay the price. And that brings us to number 1. The busiest, most congested, most notorious river crossing in the entire United Kingdom. Number 1, the Dartford Crossing, Thames. There was only ever going to be one bridge at the top of this list. The Dartford Crossing, where the Queen Elizabeth II Bridge and its accompanying tunnels carry the M25 across the Thames east of London, is the busiest and most notorious traffic bottleneck of its kind in Britain, and its numbers are simply staggering. The crossing was designed to handle around 135,000 vehicles a day. It now averages around 150,000, and on the busiest days sees up to 180,000. Nearly 40% of that traffic is freight, far higher than on most roads, because this is the only road crossing of the Thames east of London, the vital link on the M25 orbital motorway between Kent and Essex, and a key artery for freight heading to and from the Channel ports and continental Europe. There is, for most journeys, no practical alternative. The result is congestion that is not just an inconvenience, but a genuine drag on the national economy. Government studies have identified this as one of Britain's worst bottlenecks and the least reliable section of the entire strategic road network. Delays of 30 to 60 minutes are routine at peak times. On top of the sheer volume, the Queen Elizabeth II Bridge can be closed in high winds, forcing all its traffic into the tunnels and bringing the whole area to a standstill. Now imagine sitting on the M25 approach on a weekday morning, the great cable-stayed towers of the bridge visible far ahead, freight lorries packed in around you, the queue stretching for miles in the mirror. Nearly 200,000 vehicles will grind across here today, and right now, you're one of them, moving at walking pace toward the only crossing for miles. It's the busiest, the most congested, the most complained about crossing in the country. The undisputed king of British bridge traffic. So there you have it. 10 bridges that cause Britain's worst traffic. Some are ancient town bridges never built for the modern car. Some are huge city motorway, crossings carrying more than they were ever meant to. Some grind to a halt for the wind, or for the tolls, or simply for the sheer weight of a whole region trying to cross one river at once. And a few stop dead for the most maddening reason of all, so a boat can drift lazily through. What they all share is the thing that makes bridge traffic so uniquely frustrating. When you're stuck on the approach to a bridge, there's no clever back route, no rat run, no escape. Everyone has to get across the water, and everyone has to do it right here, at this one point, at the same time as you. So the next time you find yourself crawling toward a crossing, engine off, radio on, watching the bridge ahead that you still can't quite reach, take some comfort. You're taking part in one of the great shared experiences of British life, the bridge queue, and you are very much not alone. Thanks for watching.